It is daily delivery debate time with Lavelle E. Neal III. Joins me a lot on Thursdays. Lavelle, how are you?
I'm doing swell. How are you?
I'm good. Nobody's playing this week, at least the pro teams aren't, but I was still able to find three of what I hope are pretty juicy topics, and you've agreed to these topics. So we might as well get to it. Number one, Lavelle, Gopher men's basketball. They're on a little bit of a heater right now. They swept the LA games, which I think only Michigan had done this season. That tough kind of, you go out, you play UCLA and USC while you're out there, and they swept them, including the big comeback win against UCLA on Tuesday night. Where does that put them? Where does that put Ben Johnson in your estimation for future talks?
Yeah, that's my column for tomorrow. I thought after the USC victory, I thought that was enough to prove that the program wasn't crumbling under Ben, and that any thoughts of regime change should be just a thought and not enacted upon. The team has gotten better, and it was bad. I was just looking at the record; they were 0-6 in the Big Ten at one
Correct.
point, and I think everybody was wondering, okay, where is this headed? What is Cole going to have to do about this at the end of the year? They have gone 6-3 since
Yes.
then. I want to say,
6-3 since then. Yes, they've got 6 and
and
9 overall.
won 4 road games during
Yeah.
that. Winning on the road in the Big Ten is not easy. But
No.
even if you're playing at Rutgers or Northwestern or something like that, it's not easy. Good teams have problems winning on the road. So quite an achievement. And then the last two, I had to go look it up. Michigan State, and I don't know who they must have just lost to. But Michigan State's first 2 conference losses were on that LA trip when they lost to USC and UCLA.
Okay.
It's not easy going in there and coming out with 2 wins, especially the way the Gophers won. They were down by 10 points in the second half against USC and 17 at one point against UCLA, and came back. And so they're showing a toughness, a mental toughness, determination to make tough shots, and guys step up enough to help Dawson Garcia kind of not have to carry the load all the time. They get some
Patterson made huge plays.
Yeah, Lukai Patterson's make big plays. Mitchell's make some big shots. The front line, bringing in Mitchell and a couple of bigs, they come in once in a while and able to pull down enough rebounds to keep things going. So it's working right now. It's not out of the question. They could finish 500 in the Big Ten. And as I pointed out in my column for tomorrow, we have to remember that the Gophers were predicted to finish last in the Big Ten this year. Last. And if a last place team ends up being around 500, or even if it's 9-11, that's quite an achievement, I think. I'm not saying that coach of the year, the program's heading in the right direction. If anything, this proves that if Ben had some NIL money to keep some guys or to bring in a couple guys that where he could take this program.
I agree with these things. When they were 0-6, I was like, is this team gonna win a Big Ten game this year? So obviously being 6-3 since that is a huge accomplishment. My question though, my problem with this is when they were 0-6, we were like, well, what's Mark Coyle gonna do? Well, what the message was at that point was, well, he doesn't have to do anything until the end of the season. Let's see how this plays out. So let's also see how this plays out over the last 5 regular season games. They've shown they can beat pretty much anybody. They got 4 quad 1 wins. They've got 3 quad 2 wins. Like nobody else where they are in the net has that many good wins. Like they've had a lot of good wins this year. They've also had a lot of bad losses, so they can lose to anybody as well. My problem is like from a program building standpoint, I don't disagree at all that he's done a good job coaching this particular team and that he was put in a bad spot because of all the transfers, because of where the NIL is. My big question is like, where is this headed? Why? What evidence do we have that it's going to get any better? And so that's still the thing that gives me pause, where you could be Mark Coyle and you could say, look, we need to do something different. I'm not arguing for that. I'm not arguing that Ben Johnson's the problem. I'm saying this program is kind of stuck in a rut right now, and I'm not convinced that Ben Johnson is the guy to get them out of that rut, even if it's not a rut of his own making entirely.
Well, I mean, it sounds like he's got a decent class coming in next year. He's got a couple, two 4-star kids coming in, or
Yes.
something like that. He needs building blocks because you're not going to be able to sustain success if you're bringing in 5th and 6th year college players. They come in for 1 year, so you can get away with yelling and screaming at them because you know they're not going to pout and leave. You know, they got to bring some guys in and develop. You know, it's great to bring in veterans, but it's better to have your players grow old together. You know, in college basketball, and so I'm looking at guys like the kid Azuma from Cherry.
Yeah.
Being a guy they can move forward with, and a couple other underclassmen if they can develop, and then have this class come in. He's got to stack decent classes. NIL is tough. I mean, he's got to make a decision. Do I use it to keep guys I want to keep? Do I use it to get better freshmen? You know, he was fortunate that Dawson could have went a lot of places this offseason. He stayed.
Correct.
So he's got to figure out a route here. You know, revenue share is coming to college sports next year.
Right.
It'd be nice to get an NIL bump as well, but he's got to stack recruiting classes and try to keep guys. I mean, no one saw Farrell Payne leaving. No one saw Elijah Hawkins. No one knew who Elijah Hawkins was. You know, he came from Howard. He wasn't even recruited. You know, and he comes in, he second in the nation in assists, and poof, he's gone to Lubbock. You know, how do you guard against that? You know, you got to keep bringing in decent kids and hope that you have a few willing to stick around and not have to chase the bag.
Yeah, I get all that. I'm still concerned about long-term fit, long-term vision, stuff like that. But where we find definite common ground is the job he has done with this particular team is beyond impressive because, again, they were 0-6 in the Big Ten. I didn't know if they were going to win a game in the Big Ten. I was like 0-20 is on the table, and now they're 6-9. And you're right, their next 2 games, I believe, are against Penn State and Northwestern. Both of those are home games. Opportunity to perhaps win both of those games. You can see them getting to 8 or 9 wins easily. Now, you're right; it's not out of the question that they get to 500 in the conference. They're almost definitely going to play in the conference tournament now. Yeah. There might be some postseason play for them beyond that. Almost certainly not the NCAA tournament.
It could be a tough out in the conference tournament because they're the team that you don't want to have a bad day against. You know, they got to play at North Wisconsin before the season's over. That's gonna be a tough one. Rutgers, record-wise, doesn't look great, but I think they just got their best player back. That's going to make them a little bit tougher. And I can't believe I can't remember who the last game is against.
Nebraska, I think. They've got
Nebraska. You're right. It's Nebraska. So I can see them winning 3 games, maybe 4 if they get a couple breaks, you know, and then, but at least the fact that they're even in this stage, this part of the Big Ten conference standings, speaks to what they've accomplished this year.
Yes, like a month ago, Ben Johnson being gone almost felt like a foregone conclusion, and now we're having a much different conversation, Lavelle.